And here I say the prospect, but you're in the UFC now. You're still the prospect at this point.
Yeah, I've got to be, mate. I've spent too much money marketing the name, so yeah, I'm going to stay the prospect, I think, until I get that UFC gold wrapped around my waist.
That's the point. At this point, it's like, okay, now what? Like UFC Hall of Famer is like, okay, I think he's. What else is going to go on to at this point? But yeah, that's a huge point as well. Congratulations on the Prospect Apparel, man. That's fucking doing really well at the minute. Like, how
Oh,
much
thank you,
focus
mate.
is like your sort of training camp and that kind of focus? Like, how do you split that?
If I'm honest, the main reason that I kind of started with it was because I needed something to do in between training sessions. I'm one of these people that I'm always on the go. I can't just sit down and watch telly for probably more than an hour without sort of, twiddling my thumbs and trying to do something. So I just thought to myself, let's do something productive. Let's especially with MMA not being it's not exactly a secure job. At any moment
Shock.
injuries can
Not
happen.
exclusive.
And yeah, so I just thought, right, why not put my spare time to something, useful. And I was talking to one of my old schoolmates and he sort of suggested it, and I said, right, let's do it together. And yeah, here we are now. So it's been fun, and it's given me something to do, and hopefully it's something that I can fall back on when my body can't take getting beaten up anymore.
This is where it gets really interesting with the sort of model of it as well, because it's not just fighter specific, it's also like just sort of general population fitness. Like, what was the initial kind of model with that you wanted to sort of go with?
So obviously, to start with, it was like, the idea was it was going to be for my fans, my followers, my supporters, anyone that comes to my fights, they can sort of represent. And, it's almost like being part of a team and a family together. When you look up in the crowd and you see everyone wearing your t-shirts, it's quite a cool feeling. And then it kind of just went to the next stage where it's like, well, okay, let's get some female stuff done, and so we got the female sets. They went quite quickly, it was actually a lot better selling than the men's stuff. So we're now focusing on basically providing, if not just people in the gym, for people that are just chilling at home. And hopefully one day, well, it happens now when I get an order, I don't know who the person is ordering it, so it's not like it's me, my mum and my auntie that are
Yeah, this is
ordering
it.
the
Yeah.
t-shirts to support. I'm actually getting customers, let's say, all around the world. So it's quite a nice feeling. And one day, who knows, maybe I'll be walking down the street and I'll see my brand everywhere. So yeah, that's the goal anyway.
When you say one day, you're going right down the right street now, you find it now. I mean, this is something I don't know, I really appreciate this because, again, starting the podcast and starting my own sort of rash cards. If I say it's early days still, but seeing people buy your stuff off their own back, thinking, do you know what? It's like buying a ticket, isn't it? It's that kind of nod of like, you know what, you acknowledge what's going into this. Such a personal thing. So yeah, a lot of respect for yourself, my friend. A lot of respect.
Yeah, thank you.
So, regards of energy and time and things like that, because obviously fight camp, you've got to be focused on the task at hand, but obviously things like this outside of camp you've got to also manage. Like, how do you allocate that kind of time and energy when it comes to things coming up like this?
Well, for me, obviously rest. It's about being organized and getting your training in so that you can rest in between, and then get the best out of your sessions, the best out of your time. As I say, I'll probably get about a good 8 hours sleep every night. But other than that, throughout the day, I'm not napping, I'm not doing anything like that. So, for me, rest is if I'm sitting at the table sorting out some clothing stuff or doing a podcast. This to me is rest. This is enjoyable. Whereas if I wasn't chatting to you, I'd probably be sitting there watching something that I don't even want to watch, bored, and then getting a bit agitated because I'm bored. So yeah, I'd put it down to just kind of I have a diary. When I got the diary, that made life so much easier because I just jot down what I've got to do throughout the day, and then I can be organized, and then everything seems to fall into place, into resting and stuff. But if I didn't have the diary, mate, I don't know where I'm going and what I'm doing and who I'm talking to. So yeah, I went off a bit then, but
No, so it's a podcast, not an interview. It's not a soundbite. You keep doing you, man. I love it when I can see the passion in it as well, the general enthusiasm. I'm actually enjoying this, the actual kind of, yeah. Because again, it's the whole discipline equals freedom kind of thing. The fact have you got a busy day? Well, I've got these slots, I'm doing this, I've got this window free.
Mhm.
It's not as busy as whatever busy means. But no, I like that a lot. And I like how you can have that confidence to rest properly. Because you know what it's like as well when you've got camps coming up, think, am I doing enough? Thinking, wait a minute, I'm
Yeah.
doing this now, I've done my training. Like you out of camp versus in camp, is there much different in that schedule?
No, so for me, I am training all year round. All year round, I'm in shape. My fitness is high, etc. All it is for me, what a fight camp is about one, focusing on my opponent. So, am I fighting a southpaw? Is he orthodox? Am I fighting a grappler? So on, so on. It's about getting ready for a specific person and cutting weight, because the cutting weight bit's hard. Even though I've got abs and I'm looking pretty shredded at the moment, I'm still 12 kilos overweight. So,
Oh, big old boy.
it's it's hard. It's a tough one. So, for me, I need always a good at least 8 to 10 weeks to make weight. And for me to maintain my body weight to make a fight on a month, it's too hard. It's not like, oh yeah, just don't eat chocolate in the evening and you're good to go. I have to really restrict my calories, and it's not healthy, especially when I'm burning so much throughout the day. It's important that I get the right foods in, and so that for me is literally the difference between fight camp and not fight camp. Out of camp, I'm still training every day, pretty much twice a day, every day. I guess I can be a little bit more lenient. So say my missus says to me, which actually we're doing right now, she said, do you want to order a pizza? So I'm waiting for the pizza man to come. Obviously in camp, I wouldn't do that.
It's not officially, it's all right. We don't talk about that. That's fine. We'll keep this between podcasts, it's fine. But no, I like that a lot. And again, it's that kind of the management, staying when not having to get ready. But regards of like relationship with food now, like saying obviously getting a pizza, enjoying your time off. How are you with having these treats? Do you take a lot of guilt with stuff like this? Do you just enjoy it as and when? How do you find living, I say civvy life, but it's not quite that deep, you know what I mean? As in like eating food that isn't your chicken.
Well, so for me, obviously, I said, well, I'm very organized.
Yeah.
I always know what my weight should be every week, every day, every second almost. So my weight at the moment is where it wants to be for this, like for obviously not having a fight booked. Therefore, I can have a pizza. Obviously, if I had a fight booked, I have what my weight needs to be every week. So 10 weeks prior, 8 weeks prior. As long as I hit my target or my weight, like I weigh myself now, it's where it wants to be, then I can have what I want, and then I don't have any guilt with it. So even just now, my missus said, do you want to order a pizza? Cool, I'm going to check my weight. It's not actually that bad, so sweet, let's just get a pizza. Whereas if I'd got on the scales and it was like, oh, that's pretty heavy, then I probably would have just had a salad instead. So yeah, for me, being organized is what helps me, be
Perspective, isn't
focused
it?
and calm. Yeah.
Perspective, and I mean that's a huge thing. I like the way you're sort of answering that as well, because again, it's really the reality of it. Because again, eating these foods are good, bad, and different. But again, knowing what you need when you need it, and certain things like that. No, it takes a lot to be able to be that organized to all that kind of stuff and that kind of discipline. And a lot of respect for that. But again, we're talking about quote unquote finished product, Nathaniel Wood. So what is the AMIs like with the same kind of discipline and diet and things like this? Has it been from the word go like this kind of regime, or has it been a bit of a, I don't know, a hard process?
I've always been like this because from the moment, I started training, the idea was that I wanted to be doing this for a living. I wanted to be UFC champion of the world. So I've always pushed myself to the point where I don't feel I can do anymore. And even my dad, who's my coach, he had to rein me in a lot. He had to say, look, mate, if you're making yourself ill, you're getting run down. And that's something that now I know better than when I was younger. But yeah, as I say, mate, I'm one of these kids that, has got tons and tons of energy. So I was always doing 3 sessions a day from the get-go. Whereas I know a lot of amateurs now and they're not doing that. And, they're saying to me, I'm going to be the UFC champ. I'm like, yeah, not with that training.
You do that somewhere else.
Not with that training, mate. So yeah, and I love it, mate. I'm obsessed by it. This is what I enjoy. And obviously even if I wasn't getting paid for it, I would still be doing it. So yeah, all I've got to do is turn up to the gym, do what I love, and just fight and get paid.
Again, you're very, very polite, very modest, and everything else, sort of downplaying this sort of stuff. And one thing I took a lot of respect from seeing you post this kind of stuff when you were injured, like again, seeing your arm in a cast and you're still jabbing with the hand and things like that. Like that kind of consistency through that kind of thing where people would just find natural breaks or natural time off, like that kind of consistency through that kind of time. what drives you at that point then? Is it just fixing imbalances? Is it just restlessness? What keeps you going during that kind of time?
I'd say just for the love of it, because it's like if someone said to me, "Oh, right, you broke your arm, don't do anything and go and watch telly." Cool. I don't really enjoy watching telly. If they said, "Oh, go and play the PlayStation," it's like other than playing maybe an hour, I don't want to do that. If someone said, "What do you want to do?" Right, I either want to go on a fast motocross bike or go skydiving or go training, which is what I can do, which is what I love to do. So when you see me with a cast and I'm, working head movement and a jab with the other hand and kicks and whatnot, I'm not there because I'm being told I have to be there. I want to be there, and there's too many fighters that I know now and they're like, "Oh, I can't wait till my fight's done. I can have a couple of months off." And I'm like, why would you want to have a couple of months off? Do you know what I mean? If someone said to me, "Oh, right, you can never fight again in the cage," I would still go training. I would still go to the gym. I would still keep up a healthy lifestyle. I wouldn't want to just, do nothing all day. Yeah, this is my job. So I guess for those that maybe have jobs as well, if they were injured, they would go away and they'd still have their 9 to 5 and they would have stuff to do. But for me, there's 24 hours in a day, mate. If I ain't training, there's not much I can do with those hours. My Prospect Apparel business it's good, but it's not that good to the point where I can spend hours a day. There's not that much to do right now. So yeah, I'm obsessed by training and I love it. So, there's no place I'd rather be than in the gym.
Oh man, that passion, I love that, man. Enthusiasm is so I love it. I don't want to say infectious because it's sort of COVID times. You can't really say that word, but yeah, it is. I love it. I kind of, you get to train, don't have to train. I love that so much.
It's like now with the podcast, you obviously enjoy doing it.
I love
Otherwise, it's like me saying, "Oh, do you not? Is this work for you?" Well, hopefully it's not.
I ain't
Hopefully you
worked an
enjoy
hour on
doing
this,
this.
man. I ain't worked an hour on anything. Like training full time,
Exactly.
working full time, podcasting. I love it, man. Ain't an hour spent working.
Yeah.
Question for you with this then, because again, very organized with the sleeping, with the diet and everything. Regards to training and obviously the ambiguity of MMA, everything you could do, every way of doing everything. How do you structure what you learn and what you prioritize in each session?
In what way do you mean?
So, for example, you've regimented, you should have your weight by this point. You're going to eat this thing. This is what you're going to do. Whereas, say you've got, I don't know, MMA wrestling based class. I'm going to work on this
Yeah.
ankle pick, this single leg. This is today's focus. So, what is your, I don't know, do you have an
Oh,
itinerary when you go to
just
training sort of thing or what?
no, the coaches, mate. So obviously, what I always tell these young up and comers who sort of ask for advice is find the right coaching team. So I go to train. I went to training this morning. I went to jiu-jitsu with my coach Ashley Grimshaw. I don't
The
go
White
in
Wolf.
there and say to yeah. I don't go in there and say to him, "Oh, we're doing this today." I say, "Right, what are we doing?" And he's the coach, so he gives me what he thinks I need to learn, or we spar on then what I need to work on from what he's seen that session. And the same goes for all my coaches, Brad Pickett, my dad, my striking coaches. I go there and I trust in the process. So I trust that what they're showing me is to better me as an athlete and to just make me, a world champ. So if I'm honest, I've got the easy bit. I just turn up. I'm like a guinea pig. I just do it, and they're the ones that make and brainstorm the fighter as such. I'm the body and I let them be the kind of the mind behind it, if that makes sense.
Again, very modest, very downplaying yourself. But again, with this anyway, again, you don't get to level you're at without being some sort of proactively learning, proactively doing certain things. Like when you're having these rounds, are you getting feedback after the fact? Are you watching tape back of your own training sessions? Or is it, I've done that session, had my moment, now it's the next one? Like, how do you get the most out of your sessions?
Yeah, so after training sessions, I'll look myself, you haven't got to be a genius to work out what you feel like went well in the session and what you feel like didn't. So, say there's a sparring session and I've been tapped out with certain things or I've been caught in certain punches or kicks, I'll work out why and then I'll go away with my coaches and I'll ask them. Sometimes I do, I jot down, not as much anymore, but more, the sort of first few years of training, I was always jotting down what's going wrong, what's going right. And, obviously, because you're still young in the game, there's so much to absorb and so much to learn. Obviously, now at the level I'm at, there isn't as much stuff to learn. It's more about perfecting the stuff that I do know. It's about getting fitter, stronger, faster, polishing the skill set that I have. And obviously during fight camps, you know, I don't really want to be focusing too much on learning new stuff. I want to be focusing on becoming the best Nathaniel Wood I can be on that night. And then obviously it's after the fight out of camp, which is now where I can practice certain stuff. You know, I've been working on my elbows and certain things that I haven't normally focused on when I've been in fight camp. So yeah, you know, I just say like you got to get the coaches and if I have a coach that never gives me any advice, obviously that's down to me to have to kind of chase him up and say, you know, what do I do? What do I do? Why is this not working? Or why, you know, am I getting caught by certain things? Luckily for me, you know, my coaches beat me to it. So before I can even think to myself, what went wrong in today's session? I'll already have Brad or my dad or whoever saying to me, Nath, you need to work on this. So, you know, they make my life easy by, you know, focusing on all the holes in my games before I can even, you know, focus on it myself.
Again, that's so perfect because again, when it comes to everything you could learn, everything you could focus on, you'd be there all day. Whereas someone says, okay, one thing is this jab. When you do that, you got this, or so on and so forth. You got one thing to worry about. Spot on. Absolutely love that. There's quite a few things with this I wanted to sort of go into, and like more so how your coaches get the most out of you. Like, how would you like to learn things? Are you more sit down, explain it? Is it just reps on reps till you get it right? How would you like to, I don't know, understand like new techniques?
So the best way I learn myself, especially like with jiu-jitsu, is sparring. So, you know, me and my coach Ashley, like today, we don't go there and drill techniques to start with or anything like that. We go live, you know, get warm, let's go live. And throughout that sparring, in between rounds, after, he'll go through with me what either he caught me with, or if I've got any questions. So today, you know, I was struggling to pass his guard a certain way. After I say, Ash, you know, show me what's going on. Why can't I pass your guard? And then he will show me. So in a way, it's bad for the coaches because they're showing me how to beat them. You know, I'm very good now at defending guillotines because Brad was very good at them.
Yep.
So now when me and Brad spar, he can never catch me in a guillotine. And in a way, he's got to take that as a compliment, but it's also frustrating for him because he's like, damn, you know, I can never get him a guillotine anymore. But in the same sense, I'm proud because he's listening to what I've said. So yeah, you know, that's what I'd say really with that one.
That is an interesting one, the way you sort of manage these things anyway, because again, it doesn't really make sense to sort of break things down in step by step because the nature of jiu-jitsu and MMA, every round's different. And you have the same round with the same person 10 times, every round's different. And I don't know, the whole idea, you tell him to beat A and B beats A and back and forth, you keep growing like incrementally. It's really interesting that. And regardless of the structure of your camp, the things you prioritize each time, obviously you said it's opponent based kind of thing, their sort of strengths, their weaknesses and things like that. But regardless of your structure, regardless of your schedule, do you put more time in different sessions in that sense? Is it just to focus on the sessions you've really got changed? How do you adapt your camp as such?
I always go off obviously how I'm feeling. So, you know, usually the mornings I'm always fresher, shall we say, than I am in the evening. So in the mornings, you know, that will be my kind of more let's go hard session. It's the sparring usually in the mornings. And yeah, just listen to your body really. You know, obviously if I'm a bit beat up and a bit, you know, being kind of lethargic, I'll have my coaches, you know, give me a little boost, you know, give me a little bit of encouragement. If I'm honest, I'm pretty self-motivated myself. So if anything, usually my coach saying, right, we're going to chill out a little bit today, you know, because I may be doing 5-minute rounds on the pads and they'll say, listen, we're going to drop it down to 3s because you're looking pretty tired. Which is handy because there's been many a times I've gone into a fight overtrained and that's not good. You know, you definitely don't want to be doing that. But yeah, you know, I guess that's where I've obviously got the right coaches around me. They can tell when, you know, I'm being lazy or when I'm actually getting run down. So yeah, you know, I usually just try and listen to my body. And as I say, you know, I'm quite self-motivated myself. So, you know, I don't really ever need someone to give me a kick up the arse that much.
Not so much the kick up the arse, it's more the focus of the sessions as such. So my example with this is, I don't know, Monday's wrestling, Wednesday's jiu-jitsu, Friday striking. And then your opponent is a grappler, for example. Is the whole camp same structure, but those classes now focus on that opponent? Or do you add in more of the specific style you want to work on? You see what I mean?
So we are obviously focusing on the opponent, but because of MMA and it being so, you know, pullouts all the time, you know, if you had a fight, if you say to me now, right, you're fighting Sean O'Malley in 10 weeks time,
Oh, that's a thing to
there's,
throw out nowhere, isn't it? Trying to manage in 10 weeks time.
yeah,
That's an idea.
well, yeah. If you know, for that 10 weeks, if someone else, if he pulls out and someone else steps in, let's say a week before, and let's say someone like Umar Nurmagomedov, who's a wrestler, grappler, completely different to Sean O'Malley, your brain's going to be going like, oh my, you know, I've just done 10 weeks of training for a tall, you know, striker. Now I'm fighting a Nurmagomedov, you know, it's things completely change. So we do focus on the opponent, but we don't obsess over it, you know. So if I'm fighting a southpaw, yes, when I go to the gym today and I do, let's say, 5 rounds of sparring, probably I'll try and always go with a southpaw, but I might do 2 rounds with an orthodox guy, you know, because again, you know, anything can change. I could go in there against a southpaw and all of a sudden that guy decides that he's now an orthodox guy, and I don't want to be too regimented. You know, I want to be able to be, how my dad explained it to me was, he said, look, be the best Nathaniel Wood you can be and let your opponent try and beat you. Because, you know, if you focus too much on how to beat him certain ways, if you don't, you know, if I focus on a takedown and I don't get a takedown, shit, what are you going to do? So, you know, yeah, I just try and be the best version that I can be. And if it's not enough on the night, then so be it. You know, I can, you know, losing ain't the end of the world. So yeah, you know, I just try and bring my A game, and then, you know, it's down for my opponent to try and work out the game plan.
I love that, man. I love that kind of like stoic kind of thing, you know, control what you can, let go what you can't, and that kind of stuff. I love it. And again, that kind of confidence when you say it, it's like, yeah, it's what it is. I love that. When it comes to obviously being prepared for the fights you've been in, like obviously Josh Reed one's one of the ones to sort of point out, that kind of confidence and composure and that kind of pressure. Is it something you visualize? How do you manage to, I don't know, stay composed in that kind of heat?
I guess it's natural. Honestly, yeah, I don't think you can train it. I think you just got, it's the flight or fight, you know. And yeah, you just got to, like, for that Josh Reed one, I just remember in my head thinking, nah, son, I ain't going out like this. So yeah, you know, I would put that down to just being, it's your heart, I guess, which you can't train. And it's so sad these days when I'll see a talented fighter, someone super skillful, and they don't have the heart. You know, it comes to sparring and, oh no, I forgot my gum shield, and or there's some excuse. And then sometimes you have it the other way. You know, you've got someone that's got all the heart, they're tough as anything, but they just haven't got that many skill sets.
They're not that sort of, yeah, they're not switched on. The game is
yeah,
like, so more than just that. Oh, you need to not get punched as much. It's not great for you.
You got to have that thing that you can't teach. And I don't know, I guess it's just heart or just being stubborn. You know, I'm just very stubborn. So, you know, Josh Reed, I did want to go down. I was like, oh man, you know, I've had enough of this, but you know, I'm too stubborn to just go down. He's gonna have to try and kill me to put me out.
Okay, that's goosebumps, and that was pretty sick. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah. But again, there's so much with that. I love it's a sort of that composure in the moment. It's fight or flight. Believe in what you know. Because the thing with heart, as such, I feel is if you know you've got a potential A or B, you can have more heart. Whereas if you think I'm stuck, you've got me dead to rights. It's not if, it's when. I like that kind of further understanding. And regards to the intensity when you're sparring, obviously you don't want to spar like that all the time because you wouldn't be, you know, wouldn't be
yeah.
So how intense are your spars in comparison to the fights? Like, say a fight's a 10, what is your spar like?
So my spars so we spar basically twice a week. We spar every day, but you know, Monday's wrestle sparring, Wednesday's jiu-jitsu. So I count the sparring as, you know, gloves on, shin guards on, kicking the crap out of each other. We do 2. So we do one on a Tuesday, which is the big gloves, which is what I would say, you know, we're going hard. So, you know, any spar that I get, especially being, I think I'm the only UFC fighter in the gym. So I always feel like I've got that target on my back for the young guys. I've always got to be ready. You know, this is like, we're going to just smash each other, but we're sensible in the same sense. You know, if I've rocked someone, I don't then go and, you take the pace back a little bit. And then on a Thursday, we do the small gloves, which is 8 ounce shin guards. And then it's more kind of takedowns, ground and pound. It's a bit of everything. But obviously back in the day when I first was learning, I sparred a lot more. And I guess, you know, it's being smart with your training. So obviously, as I say, because I'm always focusing and thinking about it, I've thought to myself, right, if I always spar hard, my career is going to be very short, which I don't want. So, you know, sparring's fun and I love to go hard, but I also want to have a long, healthy career. And I also want to, you know, be able to be with my kids when I'm older. Yeah, I don't want to be, you know, walking around looking punch drunk. And that again comes down to the coaches. So, you know, there's days where Brad might say to me, right, Nath, you're looking beat up. I want you to go light today. The guys you're going to go with, we're all going to go light. You know, we're only going to go 70%. Whereas, you know, there's some days where it's like, right, I'm fresh. I've had my Weetabix today. Let's go, you know, let's go 100%. And it's having the right teammates, you know, with my teammates now, if I've got a fight coming up, they know not to go crazy. You know, you don't go throwing and spinning heel kicks, axe kicks, you know, unprotected at someone, you know, and we know how sort of hard to go. And then I guess you do have some days where you know, you might be in a pissed off mood and the guy you're sparring, you know, yeah, but I guess that's just knowing the team. You know, if you go into a gym where you don't know anyone, you might have someone trying to, you know, be on a pedestal, that kind of thing. And, you know, that's never good. But, you know, as I say, I'm lucky enough to have a good team around me and I've got a good team of people that I can, you know, spar with. And, you know, we all know kind of how hard we can go without, you know, going too far.
Am I going to point out that you said 70% was light? That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. If that's light, I don't know what hard is.
Yeah. But funny enough, like when I used to go to the boxing gyms and spar, you get hit so much because it's just boxing. Obviously, when we spar, we do MMA. So you don't actually get hit as much as you think. You know, you might take a couple of shots, and then you're on the ground and you take each other down. And before you know it, the round's over and you might have got caught once or twice. I can't remember the last time I've been rocked, you know, in sparring, especially when you're sparring MMA.
But this is the sort of gentleman's agreement, so to speak. Obviously, it goes there, but you know, the premise of, you know, you sort of get the nod. You're like, okay, if you hit me hard, it was an accident. You didn't mean to, sort of thing. Whereas if you can see they've got the proper intent to try and hurt you as well, and
yeah,
that is a point though. It's a case of having that trusted sparring partner, especially when you're preparing for a UFC fight. It's not some amateur fight down the middle of nowhere. It's something you're getting paid for. This is your food on your table. You can't have people injuring you, putting you out of that, because again, it's taking food out of your mouth, literally. Not literally that.
Yeah.
Instant, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you know, you can have, if you have guys, as I say, with like something like a spinning kick, there's no protection. You know, you don't have shin guards that go over your foot. So there's certain things like that where you can throw it 10%, like super light, but it's still going to cut me open because it's bone on bone. It's silly things like that, which, you know, obviously professionals us in the gym, we know that, you know, you don't do stuff like that. You don't throw an axe kick at someone, especially, you know, if they've got a fight coming up, you know, because as you say, one little cut, you're out of the fight, and you know you could be getting paid 50 grand for a fight. And do you know what I mean? Imagine losing out on that money because your teammate wanted to throw a spinning kick. Yeah. So it's just about being sensible, and it's about going with professionals. You know, believe it or not, if I have an amateur, like novice, come through the gym, I won't spar him. You know, people be like, "Oh, well, he's going to be an easy spar." He's not, because he's going to throw. He's going to throw. Yeah, he's going to throw wild shit, and you know, he's going to end up throwing a spinning elbow to my head when we're only doing light boxing.
Because he saw it on a UFC game or something.
Exactly. So you know, it's just about being professional, and you know, I guess knowing your boundaries.
Side note: anyone looking to train, go with the coloured belts. Go with the experienced guys. They won't hurt you. It's the beginners who hurt you.
Exactly.
Little public service announcement, I think. Little side note, shout out to Vigor 8. Obviously, I found about them through yourself. And again, they're guys who sponsor a lot of people. They support the community as well. They give back to the amateurs. Again, grassroots is so important. So I'll give a little shout out there. Big up those guys. When it comes to Vigor 8, anyway, a little side note with this. Like, do you use their products on a daily basis? Is it like every now and then? It's just showers? What do you tend to use?
So, believe it or not, I hadn't topped up my Vigor 8. So, long story short, Vigor 8, I'm not sponsored by them. It's basically my osteopath, Neil Patel, who I've been working with for a good few years now. He was kind of getting sick and tired of seeing us athletes with staph infections, ringworm, you know, many like skin infections that you just pick up. And he knows a lot about, you know, shower gels and the products that go into it, and it's shit. It's mainly perfume and water, and you know, if you're buying I'm not going to say any brand names actually, but if you're buying a shower gel and it costs you, let's say, £1, there's nothing in that that's actually going to clean your body because it's so cheap. It's cheap shit. You know, the Vigor 8 bottles. Yeah, exactly. So put it this way, I don't get paid for Vigor 8. I'm not on a commission deal where I'm here trying to sell it to you, but that is staff. Neil gives it to me, he'll always top me up when I see him, we're close like that.
Mm.
And I'll pay good money for that stuff. And, believe it or not, I didn't have it for a month because I hadn't topped up. I'd run out and, I was moving into my new flat. Everything was too busy. And I get the worst staph infection I've ever had. I had I pulled the scab and I had like a hole in my arm. I had to go A&E for it. They put me in a sling because they said you got to stop moving the joint because it was just spreading, and it was horrible, mate. And I'm not saying that it was because I weren't taking Vigor 8, but I think it was.
I mean, if that isn't an advert, I don't know what is, but God, that's horrible.
Mate, I haven't had staph for 3 years, 4 years, which, Vigor 8 hadn't even been around. Wait, how long have Vigor 8 been around? I don't know, but yeah, and then I don't take it for a month and I catch staph. So, whether it was or wasn't Vigor 8, I definitely am not letting my bottles. That's a scary
coincidence, man. That's a scary coincidence.
So I'm gonna make sure that my bottles are always topped up, and I'd highly recommend that to athletes, especially MMA athletes or jiu-jitsu athletes that are on dirty mats. You're very likely to pick up stuff, but anyone in general, really, if you actually look into the products that you're putting on your skin. You want to be careful with it. Your skin's actually an organ. That's a factor. That's the biggest organ in the body. So, you don't want to be putting shit on it. And it's vegan friendly. That's a big thing to me. I like I'm not a vegan, but I'm like an aspiring vegan. I'm trying to.
We care about animals, don't you? Down. So you care about the well-being of sort of thing. And this is the thing I really like about Vigor 8 is the cleanliness of it. So if you think about prime example, at Gen Pop, you go to a normal pure gym or whatever gym. Think about touching the weights everyone else has touched, going in the showers everyone else has used, and if you're not wearing flip-flops, the showers and the rest of it there, nah, fuck that. If you think you're clean after a bit of perfume from whatever brand you want, have a day off. Yeah, don't come near me, don't roll with me. Because again,
exactly.
With rolling anyway, it's very in your face, and you want to make sure at least you've got their, I don't know, your friends' essence off you a little bit. But again, it's not a paid promotion as such, but again, they're a brand that really support the community. They really give back. And again, the fans testament to that, myself as well. They support me, they support a lot of people. Again, good people deserve good recognition. So that's a bit of a shout out to them. Just a bit conscious of your time. Obviously, you got pizza on route, got to make sure that doesn't get cold. Leave you with the last 3 questions I ask everyone. First question is, you're about to walk out to fight, in walks you. What do you say to yourself to perform in the best mindset?
Fuck this guy up. Mate, I get Brad to slap me, then I'm sure you've seen it. I get him to slap me a couple of times. So I want to go in that cage and thinking, right, this guy in front of me is getting it. I like to go in there angry as such. I don't like to, I know there's a lot of fighters that like to go in there really calm and relaxed. I don't, I like to go in pumped up. I want to get the right music in my head. And, for that 15 minutes, literally fight like my life depended on it. And that's the best way that I perform. So yeah, just tell myself that, this is it. We fight or die.
I wonder if you go on the stats of Brad's significant strikes, if it goes up every time he slaps you. Because again, he's in the UFC, he's slapping UFC fighters, his stats going up, he's landing more strikes here and there, but we're getting there.
Now, but I've taken more damage with Brad's slaps, I think, than I've taken in some fights. So
I could say you get some weight behind it as well, turning the hip and everything. Oh, great. Second question is, post-win, belt around your waist, what is the takeaway? What are you saying?
Honestly, anything and everything I can get my hands on. Whatever the first thing I see is, I'm getting it. Funny enough, I don't actually really like drinking alcohol after a fight. That adrenaline dump. I'm just like, man, I just want to get back to my bedroom, have a cup of tea, and a pizza and a burger and a curry and a Chinese and fish and chips and everything. So, and my eyes are always bigger than my belly. I can never finish it.
That's a smile I've seen one. Look
I've actually been sick once because I had so much food in me, and I just had to chuck it all up. But it was worth every second.
Oh mate, that smile, I love that. That sort of passion, enthusiasm there. You had a similar one with talk about training, but that was next level as well. Last question for you. Day one beginner walks in, full of beans. Again, the same things I always say, but what advice do you give them to get them started on the right foot?
Consistency is key. I try and tell everyone that, it doesn't matter how good your training is if you're only doing it once a week or once a month. Train some more. Obviously, don't make yourself ill, don't go and overtrain like I had done in the past. But there's too many fighters now that are starting their training, they're starting their careers and they're doing one session every couple of days. You're not going to learn, so get in, learn as much as you can. And of course, give yourself a proper team. Don't go and learn from some idiot down the road that's going to teach you all the wrong moves. And then, your future coach is then going to correct you. So, find the right team and be consistent, because it is a marathon. It's not a sprint. It is a long old journey. But the journey is the best bit.
Exactly that. Thanks so much for your time. Before we go into sponsor shout out to our friend Chris Hayes, Lucky Raven, the guy who does Metal Roses, and put in your story, he donated one. And again,
yes, yeah.
They are absolutely amazing. Like the detail he goes into. Again, he's a very kind person, gives a lot back to people. Again, there's a lot behind the scenes, but again, seeing the work he does is a separate thing anyway.
I'm actually auctioning that. He donated me one because I work with a charity, the Amelia May Foundation, and he's donated me I think if you saw my story, a rose made out of metal. I think it's a poppy rose, sorry. And yeah, it's just so cool. So I'm gutted, I'm not gonna get it. I'm gonna auction it off because that's what he asked me to do. And he did make another one for my missus actually. So I kind of get to keep that myself, really. So yeah, if anyone wants to, go in for the bid, it will be up this weekend.
Perfect. Any sponsors you want to shout out to?
Let's give a big shout out to Vigor then, seeing as they're not my sponsor, but Neil Masteopath, he's been looking after me, and he looks after me in Vigor. I'll also give a quick shout out to AJ Wakeford, who has been my sponsor for a long time now. His company is Red King Resourcing, which is a recruitment company. Scramble, the best grappling wear you can get. I'll stop there because otherwise I'm going to get in trouble if I forget anyone else.
Links to those will be in the description. Check out the podcast sponsor, the English Hypnotist. Again, he's a guy who gives back to the community. He's very people oriented, but what he mainly does, the mental side of things, again, the internal voice, everything else, self-sabotage, all these sort of things we get in the way of. You hear the way how confident Nathaniel is, the way he performs. And again, in order to get rid of these self-sabotage, be able to understand why you do you and how you get the best version of you, that internal conversation is so important. And chat with Richard can get you started on the right foot. Good performance nutrition, Dan Good, former professional MMA fighter, family man, businessman, and again, now in the supplement game, supplements himself, great quality, great price, again, gives back to the community. Thank you for your time again, my friend. Regards social media, just a Prospect MMA.
Yep, that's it, mate. I've actually come off Twitter, so I'm no longer on there. Too toxic, too many toxic people on there. So I'm on Instagram, the Prospect MMA. And yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.